And sometimes atheists will say, no, I wouldn't become a Christian if it were true. How's that reasonable? How's that rational? It's not. The problem isn't here, the problem's here. They don't want it to be true. They don't want there to be a God because they want to be God of their own lives. And God gets in the way. What do you mean by altruistic and moral?
We are giving and we care about each other.
Why is that good?
Why is that good? Because it helps our species survive.
Why is it good to survive?
Because then we can propagate and move on as a species and continue to exist.
So why is that a good thing? Who said?
Why is that a good thing?
Yeah.
The Bible promotes good morality. The Bible moral message is incredible. It's beautiful. It's elegant. It's unlike any other moral message in any other religion. The more we try to live up to the Bible standards, the more we realize we won't make it to live up to those moral biblical standards. This video is an example of the modern reality of many people, many groups like, atheists, skeptics, even you, if you actually don't believe in God, you're part of this group. But these people are not in their relentless pursuit of truth. And I ask you, why is that? Well, we all know that, Frank Turek, which I'm going to show you right now, the video with 2 videos of Frank Turek. He goes to different schools, different universities, and we can see that people, skeptics, young people, atheist people, also goes to these gatherings to disprove, to debunk Christianity, and try to prove their reality, let's just put it that way, debate about everything about the Bible except their heart posture. And this is exactly the problem with a lot of people, because at the end of the day, our true calling in life is to know God. That's what I'm going to say for now. All right, let's go to the video. Before we go to the video, please check out my Patreon website. Check it out. Become a member. You can also donate. Yeah, go to my Patreon. Check it out. All right, let's go to the video.
My name is Mark.
Mark.
Can I just say I'm very honored to be here. I really...
Mark, don't touch the mic. Because otherwise the people at home are going, stop!
Sorry, everyone at home.
It's like fingers on the chalkboard. Yeah, sorry. Just got to bend down a little bit.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think my struggle a lot of times is you can go through the logic as you've very eloquently demonstrated, and you can it's really undeniable when it comes down to it. But what I run into is that people, you reach a point with them, people of different worldviews, they say, okay, yes, I understand your point, yes, I understand your logic, but I don't subscribe, or I choose not to believe that. And so I guess my question is, how do you deal with that? How do you go from them just saying, okay, I acknowledge that you're true and you're right and logical in this, but I choose not to accept that?
Well, everyone has the free will to assent or not to assent to what's out there. And God gives us the free will to do so. But here's a question I ask everybody who's not a Christian. If Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? I ask that of atheists. If there's any atheists here tonight, I hope you come up and ask a question, because I'll ask you this question. I'm just giving you a warning up front, just so you can be ready for it. If Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? I've had atheists stand at that microphone, including last night. I asked the question. And sometimes atheists will say, no, I wouldn't become a Christian if it were true. How's that reasonable? How's that rational? It's not. The problem isn't here, the problem's here. They don't want it to be true. They don't want there to be a God because they want to be God of their own lives. And God gets in the way. See, we're not on a truth quest, many of us. We're on a happiness quest. And we're going to believe whatever we think is going to make us happy. And here's the problem. You can make yourself happy over the short term by doing a lot of stupid, fun things. But over the long term, it's a disaster. And everyone in here is over 40 knows what I'm talking about, because many of us have tried it ourselves, right? Gee, that didn't work out. So ask the question, if Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? If they hesitate or say no, you realize the problem isn't intellectual. The problem is volitional. It's not a problem of the head, it's a problem of the heart. In fact, for you Christians in here, let me just ask one question, Mark, of the whole audience, if I can, for a second. For those who are Christians, just for the Christians, I want to ask you guys this question. I want you to think of somebody you know who's not a Christian, whom you'd like to be a Christian. Could be a friend, relative, whoever it is, right? Everyone got somebody? Okay, here's my question about the person you're thinking of right now. Is the person you're thinking of right now on a relentless pursuit of truth? They want to know if Christianity's true. Or are they apathetic or maybe even hostile? How many say the person I'm thinking of is on a relentless pursuit of truth? How many? Crickets. How many people say the person I'm thinking of is apathetic or hostile? Yeah, everybody else. It is the same everywhere I go. It's 100 to 0 or 99 to 1. People don't want it to be true. So you've got to ask them that question and see where they go with it.
And then I guess your response to that would be, just to pray and
Pray,
pray
love
for
them.
their heart.
Yeah, pray, love them, and maybe at some point, after you planted enough seeds, and sometimes it's because some dramatic event occurs in their life, that your phone will ring and that person will be on the other end. Why? Because when something goes wrong, they're not going to call their atheist friend who's going to say, this stuff happens. There's no rhyme or reason to it. They're going to call you. When the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
And I invite you to come to the realization, if you're on a quest for sense of purpose in life, maybe you want to change your ways, maybe you want to get rid of guilt. I can tell you that the only way to be free is to pursue the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ. You gotta say, Pablo, what the heck are you talking about? I hear this everywhere. It's all over the social media. Well, let me just tell you this. Christianity is epitome of free will. Yes, you heard that right. No. You heard that right. Christianity is the epitome of free will. Why? Because I'm choosing to believe that God sent Jesus Christ on earth to save humanity, to save me from the death penalty, from the death of sin, to open up a way and reconcile God with humankind in order to experience a relationship that goes beyond measure with the Father. And this is the gospel of Jesus Christ. And this is a gospel that we need to come to the realization that, just like the gospel, what does the gospel mean? It's good news. We have good news. What is the good news? The good news is that we have a Savior. The good news is that we have a person who was willing to give his life to be right with the Father for all humankind. And this is actually why it's so important for me to preach that person was Jesus Christ. God in human body came here, gave his own life, knowing that we don't have access to God, yet he wanted to make access for a relationship, not only just to God, but with a relationship with God. But let's go watch this video, and it's going to explain a little bit more of what I want to try to say to you guys.
Hello, I'm Nathaniel.
Nathaniel.
No, so you make three specific arguments for the existence of God. A creative argument, an argument for design, and an argument for morality. I first off would like to try and take down the argument on morality.
Go ahead.
Because it's not actually an argument for the existence of a God, it's the argument for the fact that we should have an idea of an existence of a God. Because otherwise there would be no moral basis from which we could sit on. And I disagree with that because I feel that humans are inherently altruistic and moral.
Okay, all right, stop there for just a second, Nathaniel. What do you mean by altruistic and moral?
We are giving and we care about each other.
Why is that good?
Why is that good? Because it helps our species survive.
Why is it good to survive?
Because then we can propagate and move on as a species and continue to exist.
So why is that a good thing? Who said?
Why is that a good thing?
Yeah.
Because that is what it is.
Well, that's an is. That's not an ought, though. Stalin would say, fine, Nathaniel, I'm going to survive by killing you and taking your stuff. Why is he wrong?
Because Stalin would have the initial urge not to. He would feel that the inherent urge of humans is to be caring for one another. There are situations where humans will not be caring about one another, and those are exceptional. But because humans are inherently altruistic, his first urge would be to take care of the person or try and help them. But if he has some motivation against that, then he would no longer have that urge. And he would decide that he wants to kill them because he has a reason to.
Well, again, I think you're begging the question as to what altruism is. Why is taking care of others a good thing if there is no God? That's your opinion. Is there an external referent, an authoritative, unchanging referent that you're getting that opinion from, which makes it objective, or is it just something you feel?
Humans, so if you take it from the stance that this is something that is consistent throughout humanity, that we care about one another, then we could superpose that as a moral impulse that we have.
Okay, let me agree with you. I think we do have a moral impulse. And that's exactly what C.S. Lewis said in The Abolition of Man, when he looked at all the diverse cultures and he said, they agree on basic morality. Now, how do you explain that basic morality? Well, there's maybe different ways to explain it, but some will say that's because God has written it on our hearts. But the issue isn't how we know it. The issue is, why is altruism, as you put it, or caring for one another, a good thing? Who said?
It's not necessarily who said, it is what is. We are altruistic. There is no need for someone to say that it is a good thing. It is what we are.
But if Hitler or Stalin comes along and says, I don't want to be altruistic, I want to be selfish and take everything for myself, and if I have to kill you to do that, I'm going to do that, why is that objectively wrong?
Because he is not taking care of other people.
Who said it's... Where are you getting this standard to this objective standard that you ought to take care of people? Where does that come from if there's no God?
So I'm just going to talk about a little example that I know of and some others. So there's 3 different points I'd like to make. First off, we still exist. If we did not take care of each other as a social species, we would have very, very limited capabilities of still existing. So we need to band together. We need to take care of each other. We need to be friendly to one another.
That's presupposing that survival is a good thing. Why is it a good thing? And why us surviving? Why not roaches or antelope or black widow spiders?
Why do you need the concept of good there? We're still surviving and we're being nice, kind to each other. We are being caring for one another.
Forgive me, Nathaniel, but you're stealing the standard of goodness from God's universe to try and make your worldview work. But if there is no objective, authoritative moral standard beyond us, then atheism doesn't work.
You know, I think you're right. There is something to that. The idea of good and evil is in a lot of ways a religious concept. But why do we need that?
Well, it depends on what you mean by religion. I'm just talking, you can leave religion out of it, it's a loaded term. Let's just say the source, ontologically, which means the study of being. Where does morality come from? Are you an atheist?
Yes.
Okay, are you a materialist?
No.
Okay, so you believe in immaterial reality, that's good. How do you explain immaterial reality if there is no God?
Could you define immaterial reality?
Oh, let's just take the laws of morality. It's right to take care of people. It's right to love. It's wrong to murder. Where does that come from?
That's something that is ingrained in us in our behaviors.
Okay.
That's how we know it. And let me...
That's how we know it. That is correct. But he is recognizing something that I'm going to tell you guys at the end of the video, because it is in us. It is in us. Period. Regardless of whether you like it or not, whether you agree with me or not, it is in us. If you are a human being, if you're a human, if you're part of the humankind, you're going to agree that there's something in us. They takes us or tries to take us back to do the right thing. Good morals.
Let me agree with you that maybe there are different ways we can come to know it. If evolution is true, maybe evolution has helped bring it to us. Maybe our parents taught it to us. Maybe society taught it to us. However, my question isn't how we know it. My question is, why is it right to love and wrong to murder objectively? Because, you know, we went to the Nazis and they said, oh, we're just obeying our government. And we said, you had a higher obligation to obey the good rather than your government, and you failed, so you're guilty. So where does this higher standard come? Where does it come from? What is it ontologically?
So to some extent, this is an interpretation of, and I'm probably going to screw this up, but this is an interpretation of why we exist. And so we come from a long lineage of life, and so in order to honor that, we must continue to live. And so...
He's talking about honor. What is these things? Where are these things come from? That's exactly what Frank is trying to make him realize where are all the good things about honor, like he's mentioned. Where are all the good things about being nice to people? Where all these things come from? That's exactly what I'm asking you today, to realize that if you don't believe in God, maybe there's something inside of you, again, that comes from the heart of God, which is good morals. And I'm going to show you, I'm not going to show you, but I'm going to tell you at the end exactly what it is.
To be kind is to honor that life that we have. And life is all that we have.
Okay. I agree with what you're saying here, but you're importing terms, moral terms like honor and good, into an atheistic system that has no way to ground those moral terms. That's my point. Let me ask you another question. I'm going to ask you the question I said I would ask you. If Christianity were true, would you become a Christian?
Yes.
Great. If I give you a book, would you read it?
I'm a busy person. But if you give it to me, I would take a look.
You'll take a look. If you read it, I'll give it to you.
That's funny. That's awesome. That's awesome. Like, I think this person right here, this guy right here, is in a true quest, in a true pursuit of truth. And that's why the gospel of Jesus Christ, you can realize how beautiful it is, because it's a reconciliation between God and man. It's a reconciliation between the creator of the universe with his creation. That's what it is. And this is the gospel of the atheism. I'm just going to turn it to them. This is the gospel of atheism, who is misleading many people like him, many people like probably you are listening to me right now, probably about to put something in the comments, and misleading people away from the purpose of humanity, that is to know God. And atheism has no objective standards of right or wrong, if that's what it is. So the hardest questions are the existential questions, and not the big metaphysical questions, if we think carefully about it. Meaning, when we face difficulties, when we face struggles, things out of control, what are you going to do? Then who are you going to turn to? That's when we can say that we can turn to God, if we care about pursuing truth. And if we have a narrow understanding about just surviving as a species, then our understanding of life is not what we say it is. In reality, my question is, why is that we take the interpretations from people, like atheist people, you name it, to be applied in the existential part of it, when we don't even know what it is? Let me just put it this way. We suppress the truth of God because we don't want to even consider to get near to God because of our sinful nature. Let me just put an example really quick. Romans 8:6-8 says, the mind of a sinful man is dead, and a sinful mind is hostile to God. It doesn't submit to God. It doesn't submit to God's law. Those controlled by the sinful nature cannot please God. So at the end of the day, you have to realize that our life and purpose is to please God. And the only way to please God is to know God. We are made in God's image, you and I. That's why I love you. That's why I have to respect you, regardless of your religious preferences, whatever you are, whoever you are. That's what we love. Different groups, that's what we love. If I finish with the next lesson, I just want to tell you that I learned this years ago. I want to finish with this. The Bible promotes good morality. The Bible moral message is incredible. It's beautiful. It's elegant. It's unlike any other moral message in any other religion. The more we try to live up to the Bible standards, the more we realize we won't make it to live up to those moral biblical standards. We fall short. The message of the Bible is this, is that every single human being are short from the biblical standard, and God has written, this is when he goes to this part, his law in every heart of every human, you and I. And this is why God demands moral perfection, and God knows that we cannot do this by ourselves. But God wants to do for us what we can do for ourselves. And he wants to trade our moral imperfection for his moral perfection. So when we say, I'd rather live by my own standards, we are suppressing the truth of God. It's a hard issue, not an intellectual one. Not an intellectual one. So I just want to live with this. Think about it, if that makes sense to you. Let me know what you think. Put your comments down below. I would love to hear from you. And also, just think about this stuff. If at the end of the day, if all this is real, would you still believe? Would you become a Christian if Christianity is true? That's all I can say. Subscribe, hit the notification button, hit the like button. We'll see you next time.